Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia, the biggest fight at 135. This is very likely the most important fight at 135, even though Haney and Loma are fighting as well. This fight is just bigger. It's more explosive. It's very likely just one of the best fights all year. And we're going to get into the film study. We're going to talk, man, I got like 30-something clips to watch. And yeah, it's going to be a great film study. And we're going to be talking a lot about these clips here, right? As we've got Ryan Garcia fainting. And this is one of the near the ending sequences of the fight where he feints with this shot. Fortuna pulls off the line and tries to come back at a pull counter pace. And Ryan Garcia smacks him and crumbles him. Now, the reason that this is so interesting is because this is almost exactly what Rolly Romero did to Tank Davis to actually get dropped and hurt. Very, very similar combo, but he goes in with the 1-2, lands the body shot, and Tank Davis makes it across the line before he gets hit with the 1, or the 3 rather, from Romero, and is able to drop him and severely hurt him. And it's very, very interesting that these two fighters' skills line up so well together. So we're going to be talking about all of the ways that we're going to get here. Okay, now, the first thing we're going to watch is mostly we're going to be watching and starting off of Ryan Garcia. We're going to be taking a look at him. I believe that he's going to be the one coming forward. Just like against Davis and Romero, and just like in that fight, I believe that Romero was coming forward because he is such a dangerous puncher. He's so fast, he's so explosive, and to be honest, I think until Davis signed to fight Ryan Garcia, it was by far the most dangerous person on Davis's resume. I know he's fought people like Leo Santa Cruz and this and that, but Rolly Romero, even though people don't consider him to be a great fighter, he is by far the most dangerous person on Tank's resume. He landed a lot of clean shots. He's fast. He hits hard. And more importantly, he's hard to fight. Okay, a lot of guys, they're going to play the same games as you because they don't have power. They don't have explosiveness. And Tank Davis had to fight kind of a different style. You know, Tank Davis likes to walk you down. He likes to be the stronger, not even just the bigger guy, but he likes to be the stronger, more athletic, punching kind of guy. Come forward. And, you know, kind of take it to you, especially as you wear out. And they say in boxing, you know, class tells over time. And as Rolly Romero kind of crumbled because he's not really, you know, I don't want to say he's not championship caliber, this and that. He doesn't have the experience, right, to be going, to understand, to stay composed for that long, to keep his energy levels up as he fades. However, I do believe that Ryan Garcia does, okay, and that's going to be really interesting because Tank Davis does like to kind of wear you out. So here we're going to take a look at a few things, okay. Number one, let's set up a little bit of a precedent here, okay. And we're going to start with Tank Davis getting hit here, 2, 3, okay. Now this is one of the most important sequences of the fight. He's able to get a reaction from Tank Davis, and Tank Davis has to react and respect this punch here, and he brings his hand, and then he's able to explode into this next punch and kind of crack Davis, okay? Number one, he's going from the back foot, and he throws this punch so he can get his weight to the front foot, and notice he's created a 2-foot punching structure, right? Ball the back foot and planted on the front foot, and now he's going to throw this punch off of this structure and kind of punch with both feet as he explodes into this shot. This is going to be really important for later because we're going to be talking about how this kind of stuff works because this is something that Ryan Garcia kind of does too, and he does it, you know, a little bit better than most people in boxing, and we're going to be talking about that stuff. But the 2-3 is very, very important because you get a reaction from your opponent with a very quick, sharp punch. Your opponent has to react to it, otherwise what? They're just eating the punch and they're going to go down. They're just eating the punch, they're going to let you score points. And he's able to throw this shot here right off of that shot. But very common, right? Feinting him here again, and then again Davis with his hands down getting hit with the left hand from Rolly Romero again. And this is so important because of the fact that Ryan Garcia is a left-handed fighter. Okay, this is his money punch. This is how he gets into position. And this is exactly what Ryan Garcia did to stop Fortuna. Right hand, left hook. Okay, and that's the exact same sequence that Davis is getting hit with. Okay, now Davis does have some defense for it. He doesn't get hit by it every time, and he does start to see it coming, which is one of the reasons why Rolly Romero had to abandon it a little bit in their fight. But it is something that's going to be very effective for him early, and he's going to have to figure out how to deal with it, not just at Rolly Romero's pace, but at Ryan Garcia's pace. Okay, so that's one of the things that Ryan Garcia is going to try to do, but we want to take a look at a lot of other stuff that Ryan Garcia does too. Okay, number one, very similar. 1, 2, 3. Much quicker than Rolly Romero as well, even though I would say arguably not necessarily as much smashing power, right? Ryan Garcia has to be in a little bit better a position. 1, 2, and now he's going to blast off that front foot to throw this hook. He doesn't really have his weight on the back foot when he throws this hook here. He's kind of in the air, right? So he doesn't get all of his power, unlike Rolly Romero, who gets just a little bit more power, right? But not as much speed, okay? Now, as we take a look here, actually, let's save this one for later. Let's go ahead and start with, here we go. No, not here either. Nah. All right, we're going to start here real basic, right at the beginning of the fight. Ryan Garcia getting into position, lead right hand. Okay, just a quick shot. Okay, and in this position here, he's on the ball of the back foot. His front foot is planted. Okay, and he's going to be planted in this position, and he's going to throw this really, really quick shot. Now, I'm going to show you guys what that kind of looks like. Okay, here's my boxing student. This is a video I did for YouTube. Now, boxing happens in 3 phases. Okay, now real quick. We can see that there are phases here, right? As Ryan Garcia, actually the clip is pretty short, so he's already on the line. But boxing happens in 3 phases, okay? And here's my student, Adrian here. In position, he's already got his front foot footwork structure. We're not practicing the 2nd phase or the 3rd phase of boxing here. He's just practicing the 2nd phases where we get on the line, we have a correct footwork structure here, and now we're able to drive our weight from both feet and get proper rotation up here, do all the correct things. There's a lot of things. It's a very, 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 very basic demo, okay? And we're just able to generate a lot of power, a lot of sneakiness, and throw this punch really quick and really short, okay? And this punch is not for knocking our opponent out. This punch is simply to be able to get our opponent to interact with us, okay? So Ryan Garcia throws a very, very similar punch here, and this is also the punch, right, that he throws right before he throws, right before he throws his knockout left hook, okay? So he throws this punch to get his opponent out of position, to open him up, to get him to react, to get him to put his hands down, to get him to do something. And now he fights off of his own probe, okay? And this is why, if you guys are on Patreon, I always call straight punches probes. They're not punches that get you to knock your opponent out. They get your opponent to do something. Okay, and the root of this is being able to throw these punches sharp and accurate and quickly, okay, so that you can get your opponent to react faster than they want to and open themselves up for something else. Again, the 2-foot punching theory happens to go along with every single punch, okay? And it's very important that you can not just be able to throw that punch, but you need to know how to fight off of that punch as well. And as we see, Ryan Garcia throws this punch, shifts forward a little bit, and he can fight off of this punch and throw his left hook. And this is very, very, very important that we have a way to chain punches and chain attacks or chain defense off of our probes, okay? Boxing, again, happens in 3 phases. And as we see, Ryan Garcia takes a step on the line, feints him, takes a step off. Takes a step on the line, throws a rear hand probe as soon as he gets there, gets a reaction, a pull counter-like motion from Fortuna, and then counters it immediately, okay? And it's very important that you use the correct structures on your feet so you can drive weight as quickly as you need to interact with your opponent's interaction, okay? Very, very, very important. But this is one of Ryan Garcia's best punches. As his opponent tries to get on the line, right, as we see, look at the position they're in. Fortuna's going to try to take a step. He's going to try to get first phase, right? He's going to try to get on the line with Ryan Garcia. And he takes that step, and as soon as he starts taking that step, Ryan Garcia disrupts him. He attacks him in the middle of getting on the line before Fortuna can even get into position to hit him. Before he can set up his correct footwork structure, before he can blast off, Ryan Garcia is already planted. He's already ready to drive an attack into his opponent. Okay, it's very, very, very important that we be able to do that with both of our hands, not just the lead hand like most people, like Caleb Plant, right? Again, he's probably going to get his goddamn fucking ass kicked by Benavidez because he has only one probe and Benavidez has two probes. Benavidez can fight off of his lead hand or off of his rear hand, and like a monster, like a monster. And Ryan Garcia showing some of that ability here in this fight with Fortuna as well, a fight that has a lot of parallels with Tank Davis. Now, we're going to take a look again at this kind of stuff a little bit later, but we want to take a look at Garcia. Here we go. Not this one here. Let's see, where is that video at? Okay, here's a good one. So right here, Ryan Garcia getting into position on the line. He can step with the jab. Here he is in the same position, right? Stepping into a jab. Now, a few things I don't like about Ryan Garcia. After he throws a punch, he leaves the line here like this, pulling straight back. That's not what we're going to talk about right now. We're going to move on, but we're going to talk about this because this is another one of those ways that Ryan Garcia can throw a very, very, very fast and sharp attack at his opponent from a planted structure here, okay? He's just in position. He's here on the front foot, ball the back foot, and he can kind of step with this punch and throw it real quick and then exit the line. And now he needs to be able to have some tricks off of that, right? Because notice, he's got Fortuna interacting with it, trying to parry it. But look at what hole opens up when he parries it, okay? And then he shoots him, boom. And now there's a hole, right? So now instead of coming forward with that same shot, he comes in with the hook. And we can see that instead of throwing the jab, he throws the hook. And he's able to land this punch because he's already got Fortuna interacting with him. Now real quick, here's another video of one of my students, Adrian. And he's got a front foot footwork structure, ball the back foot, heel the front foot. And he's able to throw, again, this is phase 2, right? In the second step, we're already on the line with our opponent, and now we're just going to be throwing these punches. And we know if our opponent is going to interact. We know if we've already probed him with the jab that the hook is open. And this is just supposed to be a quick punch that we can throw, we can let off. We don't really have to commit to it. It can be a fast, snappy shot, and then we can leave the line. But again, boxing takes place in multiple phases, and this is the phase where we're already on the line. We've already done the work, right, of getting on the line safely. We've already figured out how our opponent's going to react, and now we know we can throw this punch just like Ryan Garcia throws his left hook there. Now, real quick, if you guys are interested in checking out the Fouts Boxing Combat System, I will not only teach you the best ways to train two-foot punching, but I'll teach you the best ways to train it in your shadow boxing so that it has a direct translation to your fighting. I will teach you pad work drills that teach you the best way to get on the line, to create your footwork structure, to attack a massive power punch, right? Teach you how to drive a lot of weight, a lot of speed, and then the absolute easiest way to not only get off of the line, but to also fight off of your probes, okay? Because any singular punch is useless by itself if not only you don't have a way to set it up, but you don't have a way to fight off of that punch as well. And being able to manage your weight correctly by not falling off balance, by using both of your feet to create the perfect structure, will allow you to have the most amount of control over your hands, your feet, your head, your chest, all of your entire body, okay? Now, not only that, real quick, I will also teach you exactly what Ryan Garcia does to generate power with his hands. I'm not only, like, the two-foot punching structure is one of the greatest secrets in combat sports. It's one of the greatest secrets that nobody has ever discovered before me, nobody. And I'm giving it to you for free because I'm so confident in the Fouts Boxing Combat System that you will be able to learn exactly what Ryan Garcia does. Because not only am I going to teach you exactly what to do with your feet and your hands and your shoulders, right? Your head. I'm not just going to teach you all that stuff. I'm going to teach you how to do it in a combat system. So you can get on the line, you can land your most devastating punches, you can get off the line safely, or you can stay on the line and continue managing your weight. Okay? Now again, if you guys go back through every single drill ever on my entire YouTube channel, everything that I teach is two-foot punching based. Okay? every single thing. Now, these videos are a little bit more exaggerated because the focus is on the feet, and that's what I wanted people to be paying attention to. But everyone wants to say, well, this is not this, this is not that, this is not this. And it's like, God damn, am I supposed to show them doing a whole fight? Like, this is a YouTube short, for God's sakes. But anyway, getting back to the film study, again, it's very, very, very important that Ryan Garcia is able to get to this position, get planted, and then let these punches go, and then have a way to fight and throw. Again, very similar hook, right? He's going to be throwing this punch, and then immediately he can leave the line right after, okay? Now, he's very good at this stuff, okay? Again, being on the line here, and again, at this range, you don't know if he's going to throw a jab. You don't know if he's going to throw a lead right hand. And also, you don't know if he's going to throw a lead hook, okay? And all of these are very, very, very important because Ryan Garcia can throw all of these punches basically in one beat, in one moment, one shift of his weight or one little explosion from the ground up, and he can throw any of those punches, and that makes Ryan Garcia very hard to fight. Okay? Even though we know that he lacks defensive responsibility, even though we know that Ryan Garcia is not very good going backwards either. Now, he may be a little bit better going backwards than we think because he's a little taller than Tank Davis. But being able to defend yourself after you throw these kinds of punches is also a very, very important idea because you may get control of your opponent with this punch, but they still may be able to follow up. So understanding what to do with your weight, how to get into the next footwork structure correctly so you can defend yourself or offend your opponent. Okay, it's very, very, very important. Okay? Now again, jabbing, right? Jab, control, and then coming around the guard with the hook. Again, Ryan Garcia is very, very, very good at this, and you never know which one you're getting. You don't know if you should parry the jab. You don't know if you should interact with the hook. You don't know if the right hand is coming. And all of those things are going to be very, very, very effective against Tank Davis. Okay? Now, a few things, okay? So this is a very, very important sequence here. A few things. Ryan Garcia doesn't always move out of the way after throwing a shot, okay? Now, this is something that people commented about on these punches here. Oh, there's no defensive responsibility, there's no this and that. And this is only the second part of the sequence, right? Boxing happens in 3 phases, right? You got to get on the line, you got to strike. And these sequences, I'm not teaching you what he's going to do after, right? But it is very important that you understand that after you make an attack on the line, you have to defend yourself or you have to follow it up, okay? And Ryan Garcia is much better at following it up with more punches than he is at defending his position after, okay? So when he gets on the line here, boom, jab, little probe thing here, and getting countered by Fortuna, even though we know that this is not a real punch from Ryan Garcia, the timing is there. He still has to use a little bit of his structure and a little bit of his timing, and a little bit of it to get into this position, and Fortuna is able to counter it. And this is going to be very important because this is one of the things that Tank Davis likes to do the most, okay? And we're going to take a look at that in a little bit too. Here we go. Now, here's Ryan Garcia coming in with the right hand, and again, he throws that shot, and he gets countered by the hook here. Now, this is not the way that Tank Davis likes to counter, but he's going to see that punch coming, right? And as we see, his weight kind of goes down, and he's able to get his head just off the line, right? Ryan Garcia's punch is coming to about this position here, and Fortuna's able to get his head just off that line and kind of counter Ryan because Ryan Garcia's defense after punching is not that good. However, this is the same sequence that he would normally throw the 3 and be able to catch him. So if Ryan Garcia is not able to start letting multiple punches go on the line, he's much more susceptible to being hit and to being countered. Okay? And that is very, very, very important for the film study because that's actually the way that Tank Davis likes to counter most. Now again, He comes forward with a little probe here, comes forward with a little probe here, comes forward with his weight here, throws that probe, and watch Fortuna pull counter the last one, right? It comes out, we can see Fortuna crouch, and now Fortuna can create his 2-foot punching structure from here and then blast up and throw this shot to Ryan Garcia's body. Again, a punch that Tank Davis really, really, really likes to throw, okay? Now, as we take a look at a few more things, okay? Again, 1, 2, 3. Ryan Garcia much better when he follows up his 3 or his 2 with a 3, getting stuck a little bit on the line. A very important sequence for Ryan Garcia. But this is really interesting too because he jabs here, right? And when he jabs, Fortuna tries to pull counter him and follow him back. But Ryan Garcia is already countering him with the hook. This may wind up being the most important sequence for Ryan Garcia, is his ability to defend his position, right? He's going to throw that jab out, and Fortuna tries to take that little step here, crouch, and tries to come in to throw that his own left hand, and walks into this counter from Ryan Garcia. This is a very, very important sequence because if he can stop Tank Davis from interacting with his jab by countering him with the left hand, he may gain some valuable space in the ring so that he can start setting up his hooks going forward. Now again, Tank Davis is really short. And every little inch that you're shorter, every little centimeter, gives your opponent a little bit of space to work with. And when you're fighting someone who has as many advantages as Ryan Garcia in size, because I think that's probably actually his only actual real advantage, which at the highest level, when you're both super athletes and you're both super strong, it's a big deal. But when you're fighting guys that do not have the same speed and power and the correct 2-foot punching structure, they don't have the ability to do that stuff, their ability to interact with you when you're fast is almost negligible. People who don't use 2-foot punching structure just cannot keep up with people who do and who are really strong. And Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia are both 2-foot punchers, okay? And that's why Ryan Garcia is able to throw this probe out, right? Probe, pull, hook, boom. And he's able to land such a devastating punch. I know he didn't knock him down or nothing, but it's enough to give him enough space and make his opponent wary enough of that punch that maybe he'll have some space to set some other things up, okay? Now, this sequence is also so important. This one here, this is near the knockout, right? Because he throws this shot, and Fortuna tries to pull and come back with the counter, but Ryan Garcia is countering him again. So Ryan Garcia kind of able to defend his right hand probe with that left hook because that's the position that he was going to get countered in, right? Even though Fortuna is kind of getting it off, right? Now, Ryan Garcia is so fast that he gets planted before Fortuna is actually ready to exactly pull counter him, and it messes the timing up and it allows Ryan Garcia to smash him, drop him, and hurt him with a real big shot. And that is very, very, very important because Tank Davis, he's kind of awkward when he circles around the ring. He doesn't actually shift his weight. He keeps his head in one position. And there's just some bad stuff about that, okay? And that's going to stop him from being able to be in position to counter everything every time, okay? Now, we're kind of looking at these because I gave them all kind of funny names. So I got to see what we have and have not used. But again, the pull counters, right? We've seen Ryan Garcia be able to defend some of them. And then also get hit by some of them, okay? Now this one, again, very important. Throwing that shot, if he can't come back with the hook, he doesn't defend his punch. He doesn't move his head after executing that probe. But the last thing that we really want to take a look at, and this is really important too, okay? This is not more important than him being able to counter the pull counters because Tank Davis likes the pull counter. That's one of his main sources of offense against such a dangerous opponent, especially like Rolly Romero. Again, someone who I give a lot of credit for, even though he faded a little bit. He's very, very dangerous, very hard to fight. But these sneaky little left hooks here, okay? So he's going to come in with this little slapping hook here, right? He gets on the line, hook, leaves the line, easy shot, right? Eats a little body shot there. And now he gets on the line, and see how he throws this hook to the body instead of to the head? This is so important because, number one, well, let's take a look at a few things. Number one, is he able to defend himself in this position? Not really, right? We don't think so. He chose this punch instead of going to the head because he's so fast, right? He's trying to block a headshot. Fortuna's trying to interact with it. But because he's so fast, he doesn't really have to worry about defending himself exactly on this beat because he has so much control over Fortuna. Fortuna doesn't know if it's going to be a jab. He doesn't know if it's going to be a right hand. He doesn't know if it's going to be a left hook to the head. And sometimes when he thinks it's going to be one of those three up here, it winds up being a left hook to the liver. Because the southpaw position, the southpaw it's more dangerous, right? Everyone says that the southpaw has the advantage in boxing and this and that. But I know firsthand as a left-handed person myself, as someone who used to fight and used to train and used to fight bigger people, your liver is much closer to your opponent when you're the southpaw than it is when you're the orthodox. And if you're able to get enough control and keep your opponent's hands up, this is a free power punch. And this is going to be something that's really important for this fight. As we take a look at Tank Davis, we're going to be taking a look at that and talking about that stuff and how it affects Tank Davis. But this punch could wind up being enough to win him the fight all by himself. Okay? This is what he beat Luke Campbell with, right? He caught him with a body shot real late in the fight. But he's got this real sneaky shot, and it's very important because a lot of times Tank Davis circles, but he doesn't really move his head. He tries to keep his footwork structure on the front foot. He doesn't move to the back foot one. And that makes him do this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Judah versus Cotto, but Judah would try to take a step on the front foot, pivot his back foot around, and try to, didn't control space. He didn't punch. He didn't feint. He didn't do anything. And it would just mean that Miguel Cotto would start smashing Judah to the body. And that's kind of the same thing that Tank Davis does, and we're going to take a look at that. But this is the knockdown in the fourth round where he jumps in, and again, the jab is so fast from this position. The right hand is so fast. The left hook to the head is so fast. All of these punches are so fast, and Fortuna has no idea when Ryan Garcia explodes which one it's going to be, and he eats a big left hook to the body. And again, Tank Davis has the same problem. Okay, now we're going to take a look at a couple of bad things, right? Now here's a very similar thing that we're going to see Tank Davis do, right? Here's a right hand probe, pushes his opponent to the back foot. He comes forward, right? He starts to circle on the front foot, gets smacked with a left hook. This could also be a left hook to the body, okay? Now, a few things that Ryan Garcia does really poorly, right? His defense sometimes is absolute shit. It's some of the worst defense I've ever seen sometimes. And, to be honest, Ryan Garcia probably doesn't have anybody who can really fight or challenge him at any weight class near his height that can really interact with his probes enough and often enough to force him how to learn how to defend himself, okay? So a lot of holes here as he pulls straight back. And I believe it was Luke Campbell that was able to drop him. Now, Luke Campbell is really tall for his weight division. He's not necessarily a great puncher, right? But it's enough to hurt Ryan Garcia if he's pulling back and he has nowhere to go and he makes a fundamental mistake of not bringing his left hand with him, okay? Now this is really important because this is also one of Tank Davis's favorite styles of offense. He just shoots the jab, pendulums, and then throws a left hand. And if he can continually push Ryan Garcia off of his line, he may be able to find some of those shots, right? And again, pushing Ryan Garcia straight off his line here. Decent block here from Ryan Garcia. Decent, right? And then he comes in with this hook instead and winds up catching Ryan Garcia. Again, Ryan Garcia doesn't have his hand up. He is kind of going for this wide hook here. But Ryan Garcia's defense is not always great, okay? And that's going to be where the holes are. But the interesting thing about that, right? One of the worst parts about that for Tank Davis is I believe Tank Davis is going to fight him very similarly to how he fought Rolly Romero, and be the one going backwards, being the one trying to guarantee that he has control over his opponent before he starts interacting with him, rather than, I don't want to say taking chances, because you don't want to take chances, right? But in a high level, you have to throw probes. You have to throw something at your opponent to get control of them, right? And here Ryan Garcia is like, okay, man, well, I just know I have to throw a jab. I just know that I have to do something, right? Get him to react to something. It doesn't matter if it lands. Doesn't matter this. Doesn't matter that. Hook. Doesn't matter if he thinks, oh, hook, right? And you're able to land those punches simply because you attempted to get control, right? You give your opponent a little bit of information. He uses that information to formulate a plan, and you create a counter to that plan, right? Now, we'll take a look real quick. Here's Tank Davis circling on the front foot. And again, he's going to be very, very open in sequences like this when he's near the rope, circling this way, pivoting on the front foot, not pulling his head away from his opponent, not transferring his weight to the back foot, but trying to maintain a footwork structure where he can always be on the ball of this foot and on the heel of this foot to drive weight into Rolly Romero. Again, watch him do that little circle thing. Again, crossing his feet, making a lot of fundamental errors. Again, all because Tank Davis doesn't really move his head. Now, this may be where Tank Davis kind of gets smacked fighting a bigger, as fast fighter, because Tank Davis is very, very, very quick, okay? Now, we're going to take some looks at Tank Davis doing his best, countering some punches, right? Now, watch him crouch, creates 2-foot punching structure, gets his weight to the ground, jumps up, throws the punch. 2-foot punching. Again, Tank Davis is super fast. He's able to get his weight to the ground really quick and explode, and able to get under this shot and then throw a counter. Beautiful. Very fast. Very common source of offense for him. Very common. This is how he looks to fight someone who is fast and dangerous. Okay? Now again, controlling the space, and he sees Rolly Romero take that step on the left leg, and as he's taking that step, he's about to get into position to throw that jab. Tank Davis is already pulling, crouching, getting his weight to the ground, taking a step with the lead foot, and coming back with the counter. It doesn't matter all the time if you land. It doesn't matter. Because you have to interact with your opponent. You can't just let your opponent throw punches at you, because then he can start setting things up, right? Setting up the 1, 2, 3, right? If he doesn't nip this jab in the bud, this control here, and start doing that, then Ryan Garcia is going to feel much more comfortable coming in with punches like this, right? But if he can disrupt that and start interacting with him off the jab, he can create a little bit of space to force Rolly Romero or force Ryan Garcia to throw one punch at a time. Now again, beautiful move here, pulls under the jab control here and explodes into this punch. Ryan Garcia, again, will stay there after throwing a punch and just eat punches, right? He'll throw a shot and he doesn't really have any defense. He tries to maintain his 2-foot punching structure, and he doesn't find a way to get off the line from the counter. And this is something that Tank Davis is so good at. If you guys go back and watch him beat the crap out of Yuriorkis Gamboa, and I would encourage you just to watch the first round. Just watch the first round where one of the most sensational fighters ever, Yuriorkis Gamboa, who will never get the credit he deserves because he got knocked out by this guy. He lost to that guy, and he's fighting all these guys who are so much bigger than him now. But he's a guy who's like 5'3". You know, he's a real short dude. Maybe he's 5'5". I don't know. But he's incredibly fast. He's incredibly strong. He was a phenomenal athlete. And Tank Davis did that thing where he makes him kind of look ordinary. And that's because Tank Davis is such an incredible athlete. He's so fast. He uses correct footwork structure. His punching technique is amazing. And again, having good punch technique is one of the most important things you can have, because it allows you to manage your weight and manage your body in a way that allows you to use less energy, be faster, and be more explosive, and get more value out of every punch. Again, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. I will teach you exactly what Tank Davis does to be fast with his hands. Exactly what Ryan Garcia does to be fast with his hands. To generate insane speed and insane power. Okay? But again, Tank Davis interacting with his opponent's control, not allowing him to dictate the pace and the distance of the fight by interacting with him and interacting with his probes. Not allowing Romero to push him all the way to the ropes and get him into a position like this, right? Because now he's in this very bad position and he may get hit to the body. He may get hit to the head with the hook, okay? And if Davis is going to be circling, he needs to make sure absolutely as much as possible he does not have his back against the ropes, because Ryan Garcia is so explosive, all right? Now, again, more pull counters, crouching, coming back with a body shot, excellent. More lead hand control from Rolly Romero. And again, a beautiful pull counter move and punching to the body. Again, something that's going to be much more effective against Ryan Garcia because Ryan Garcia is so tall. And now this is a really interesting one because Rolly Romero gets to the position, gets to his footwork structure, right? Planted on the front foot, trying to drive off the back foot into this shot, right? Trying to be really quick and sharp. Tank Davis is able to pull. After he pulls, he creates a 2-foot punching structure and is able to really smack Rolly Romero. Pull, strike, excellent shot. Now, if Davis can if he can consistently do this, again, he'll be able to stop Ryan Garcia from being able to control him. Okay? This is not necessarily how he's going to win the fight, right? Because Ryan Garcia is a little bit taller than him, but this is one of the ways that he's going to be able to break Ryan Garcia down and make Ryan Garcia pay for interacting with him with his punches, because Ryan Garcia doesn't really block punches. He doesn't catch punches. He doesn't really slip punches. The only way that he really interacts with his opponent is by punching him. And it's very important that Davis is able to interact with him in a way to stop him from being able to control him with punches, right? And that'll give Davis the most amount of space to be able to move around and do this and do that and all that funny stuff. Now, again, 1, 2, counters him here. Very pull counter-like motion. Down, up, drives his weight into this punch. Again, getting the timing, slowing his opponent down, and finding a hole for this is going to be one of his most important things, in most important ways to actually find offense. Now, this is where Davis finds most of his offense going forward, all right? As we see, again, boxing takes place in 3 phases, right? Phase 1 is getting on the line with your opponent. Phase 2 is throwing a probe, some kind of strike, making an attack, or defending the line, putting up a defensive move to interact with your opponent as they approach the line so you can counter them, right? Like as Rolly Romero takes a step on the line and Tank Davis is ready to pull counter him, right? Very similar. Rolly Romero gets on the line. Let's just take a look. We'll just take a look at that shit, okay? Rolly Romero takes a step on the line, takes a step, and as he's taking that step with his left leg, he's initiating, right? Getting on the line and trying to control Tank at the same time. But as Tank is being controlled, he's pulling, setting up his structure to attack. He's using a defensive move as his opponent approaches the line, getting off the line of that shot, and then smashing him with the counter. I know he doesn't land this punch, but that's not important. Okay? Now, again, as he's getting on the line, right, Rolly Romero takes a step on the front foot, boom, and that triggers Tank Davis to throw a punch at him and push him off the line. And again, Rolly Romero, very similar to Ryan Garcia because, you know, Rolly Romero is just inexperienced, right? He's not been doing this since he was a little kid, so his ability to feel safe, touching punches, being on the line, catching, blocking, slipping is not there, okay? Number 1, against probably any fighter. Number 2, it's always much harder when your opponent is fast, because you have to predict things so well. Number 3, it's always way harder when you make a mistake and your opponent fucking hurts you. If they throw a punch that's really hard and they smash you, boom, they get you, you're going to feel much less likely to want to be able to interact with those punches in a way that's not just trying to counter them or jump off the line, right? Think about Fortuna here, right? Trying to interact with the punch. Okay, here he comes. I got my left hand up. I got my right hand up. I got my head off the line. I did all the things correctly, and then I get hit in the body and I go down anyway. It's very difficult at this level of athleticism and this level of speed and power to trust yourself that you're going to interact with your opponent correctly. But as you saw in that last clip, Fortuna knows he has no other choice. That's what you have to do, okay? And the same thing at a high level, you have to be able to interact with your opponent's punches, right? Think like Tank Davis, right? Rolly Romero gets on the line, controls him with that shot, with the probe. He pulls, throws a left hand. He's interacting with the control. And here we have Rolly Romero not able to do the same thing, right? Pulling straight back and then almost eating this shot. Again, he does a decent job of controlling the line. He has his left hand higher than his shoulder, right? He doesn't have it by his waist like Ryan Garcia does. And this punch doesn't land, right? But that's not why I chose it, right? This sequence is just very, very, very important because it's so similar to the way that Ryan Garcia defends himself as well, okay? Now, here's Tank Davis controlling space, circling on the front foot, not really able to get his weight to the back foot. Even when he's on the back foot here, we can see that his weight's not really on the back foot. His ball's pushing him toward the front foot, and he's getting hit by this kind of sneaky left hook. We know it's not a great punch. That's not the point. Romero is not Ryan Garcia with this shot, right? And again, this is one of those sequences that I believe is going to be very, very, very important, okay? Now, here's Tank Davis getting on the line, getting his 2-foot punching structure. He's on the ball, the back foot, heel, the front foot, blasts into this shot, and it's so fast, okay? There's just a little tiny bit of a hole, right, where Tank Davis can't really interact with this punch super well. And this punch is one of Ryan Garcia's most important punches. It's one of the ways that he controls enough space. It's also how he gets into position to actually throw the hook, right? Now, this is also the punch that Rolly Romero throws right before he throws his left hook, which, winds up getting him knocked out. So we do get to see that Tank Davis does find a way to interact with that punch, right? But again, here, 2. He blocks the 2, opens up a hole for the 3, and eats that shot. Again, all very, very dangerous stuff there, okay? Now, beautiful shot. So, where does that leave us, right? Where does that leave us when analyzing this fight, okay? Because this fight is crazy, right? The better athlete, the faster, the sharper, is it going to be the guy who punches harder? Well, Ryan Garcia punches pretty damn hard. Tank Davis punches pretty damn hard. Tank Davis, I don't think he used to have a good gas tank, but I think he does now. I think he's had enough time in the gym where he can kind of go all 12, be sharp, be fast. And what he's looking to do, right? If you watch his fight against Leo Santa Cruz, he's looking to get into a position where he can control your punches, slip them, and come forward, right? And that's because, well, Leo Santa Cruz, not a hard puncher. He's not a 2-foot puncher at all. And he's not slow, but they're all arm punches. Even if you can create the correct structure, which I don't think he does exactly, and he can be kind of fast, right? A little bit with his hands, he has no power because he doesn't drive his weight from the ground up. He's just throwing his hands. And that creates a lot of space, right? Because if you can't hurt your opponent, you can't really push them off the line if they don't want to be pushed off. And then that allows Tank Davis to kind of walk you down. Okay? And if he can just walk you down, he can just start bashing you. Okay? And that's where Tank Davis usually wins his fights, is when he can kind of walk you down and just put it on you. And I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that to Ryan Garcia, because Ryan Garcia is fast. He's got fast feet. He's got fast hands. He's got fast probes. He's got fast power punches. And I think that he's got a little bit better condition than he used to. He doesn't tire. He doesn't, more importantly, right? More importantly, and this is something that a lot of younger fighters do, right? I remember when I used to spar people in the street, I used to fight people in the street and this and that, and I remember I would hit him with my best shot, and I'd be like, oh shit, he didn't go down. And then sometimes you're like, okay, well, I'll just cool it off a little bit, I'll just box a little bit, I'll just try to wear him out a little bit, and you kind of give up on hitting them with the hardest shot because you're like, okay, that didn't work, but you don't always know if it worked or not, if it was a good shot. Sometimes your opponent can eat that shot a little bit better than you think. They can hide the fact that they're hurt. And I think early in Tank Davis's career, after hitting someone real hard, he would get a little bit discouraged. And he would allow them to box more. He would allow this and that, instead of just keep putting it on them, landing hard shots. And I think Ryan Garcia went through a phase where he was doing that as well. But I think both of these fighters are kind of over that period and that lack of confidence in their punches, which makes for a great fight. You know, it's not going to be Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero, where, you know, no offense to Romero. Again, I have a lot of respect for Romero. I think that for having such little experience in boxing, he's doing great. But he's not going to crumble. He's not going to probably make some fundamental errors that just allow your opponent to smash you with their best punch because you fade a little bit, right? Being able to control your opponent, right? He doesn't have as good of a probe as Ryan Garcia. It's not as fast and sharp. It's more controlling with the lead hand. But Ryan Garcia, if we take a look, a little bit of a fundamental difference between them, Ryan Garcia is kind of forward toward the front foot. We don't even know what side of the line he's on. He could throw either punch. He throws the right hand, right? Very sneaky, very short, doesn't really have to move. Again, just like my student here, you don't really know what punch he's going to throw if he's right here on the front foot. It could be a jab, could be this, could be that. Obviously, you probably know it's not a jab because he's not even keeping his left hand on the line. Obviously, we know we're doing right hand probes. But the idea is that Ryan Garcia can be in this position and throw either hand because he's really close to the line. And Rolly Romero has a habit, if we can find one of those little Rolly, right? See how he's kind of on the back foot here? He has a habit of approaching the line from here, and it kind of tells you what he's doing, right? He doesn't really get a very snappy probe because he keeps his weight on the right side of the line, more toward his back foot, so he can throw the right hand, right? And we see him have to throw that shot, get his weight to this side, nothing wrong with that, and then explode into the left so he can get power. A lot of good stuff there, but we can see that when he throws these punches, right, probe, his head, where his head is, right? We can see where his weight is. And this is not the same as Ryan Garcia. It's not as polished, right? And yeah. So this is going to be a really interesting fight. It's going to be really tough, a really tough fight to pick and to call. And I think at first glance, it's kind of really easy to say that Ryan Garcia has all the advantages. Ryan Garcia has the great rear hand probe. He has the great jabbing probe. He has the great left hook to the body, which goes to Tank Davis's liver. He has the great left hook to the head, which, and I'm not sure if I showed too much of that. We should definitely take a look as they're circling and doing all their fun stuff. Tank Davis likes to control the space with the lead hand here. Okay, and he does this a lot. And this opens up space, even more space, for the left hook to the head and the left hook to the body. Okay? As we see here, Tank Davis has his lead hand out there, and one of the reasons why he's getting iced by this straight right hand. But even if like a stepping left hook came from Ryan Garcia, right, would he be able to interact with it? Would he be able to interact with the left hook to the body? Right? Because he's trying to block that lane, but it's not always going to be a straight punch from Ryan Garcia, because Ryan Garcia can throw his hook like that as well. But Tank Davis, again, tries to control with the lead hand when he's circling and he's doing all this stuff. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a time and there's a place for it. But Tank Davis is, you know, sometimes, I don't want to say he's open, but he gets kind of perfunctory. Right? There's not a lot of variation all the time in the way that Tank manages the line, okay? And if it gets predictable, just like Ryan Garcia versus Javier Fortuna, if it gets predictable, then Ryan Garcia is going to find a way onto his line and hit him. And either hand, no, just kidding, the right hand's probably not going to be doing it. Ryan Garcia, again, I don't think Ryan Garcia knows that he's using 2-foot punching. I think he's just exploding. And that's one of the reasons why he's not able to maximize the damage he does with his right hand. That's why he probably doesn't have a single right hand KO. I'm just talking out of my ass. I don't think he does. I think they're all left hooks if he gets a knockout at all. Like Emmanuel Ortega didn't knock that guy out, right? And that's a really interesting idea too because, and I bring that specifically up because if Tego could punch, he could have found opportunities to pull counter Ryan Garcia as Ryan Garcia chased him around the ring. And that fight, if Tego was a southpaw, would be an excellent example of how I think the fight between Tank and Ryan would go. except for the fact that Tego doesn't have confidence in his punches that he could hurt Ryan Garcia, so he's not going to sit down and set them up. He's not as fast as Tank Davis. He's not going to hit Ryan Garcia as hard as Tank Davis can. He's not going to take as many risks, or rather, take as many opportunities to hit Ryan Garcia with the hard shot. And Tank Davis may be able to hurt Ryan Garcia with one punch. He may be able to move around the ring, slip and do this and do that, even though we've seen a lot of holes. He may be able to get Ryan Garcia to chase him enough, to open up enough that he can counter him with a big shot. And I think that that's going to be one of Tank Davis's biggest opportunities to win the fight, is kind of making the fight go as long as it can. Trying to hurt Ryan Garcia late in the fight rather than early in the fight. But he can't give away too many rounds, because if he doesn't actually find a way to knock Ryan Garcia out, he can't fall too far behind on the cards. Okay, so there's a little bit of a tension there for Tank Davis, because Ryan Garcia is going to be so explosive early. So explosive and so fast that Tank is going to need to wear him down a little bit. But he's going to have to put himself in danger to do it. He's going to have to pick his pull counters really well. He's going to have to try to take some of those punches away from Ryan Garcia so that he can continue circling him, to find opportunities to set his pull counters up without Ryan Garcia able to interact with them, or rather predict them, okay, and maybe hurt him. Now, with all that said, there are just so many advantages in Ryan Garcia's camp, and mainly they are offensive. Okay, Ryan Garcia is not very good defensively, and I think your defense shows over time in a fight more so than your offense. Obviously, if you're just throwing punches, eventually you're going to catch the guy if he can't stop you from throwing punches. Sure, common sense. But Tank Davis, as we saw, he has some decent pull counters. He has some decent ability to interact with those fast punches. Now, real quick, those right hands are not as fast and sharp and long as Ryan Garcia's. Those jabs and those probes from Ryan Garcia, or from Rolly Romero, are not as fast and sharp and hard as Ryan Garcia's. Rolly Romero's are not. Rolly Romero did not have a way to step in with the left hook, the leaping left hook or the stepping left hook, boom, to control space and try to smash him. He didn't have the opportunity to do that, to fight off of the established pattern of the jab. Okay? He does not have the ability to do that. All of those are extra holes and extra places for Ryan Garcia to gain more control and more unpredictability on the line. Also, those are amplified by the actual speed and reach advantage of Ryan Garcia. And I give Ryan Garcia the speed advantage because he'll be able to hit Tank Davis before Tank Davis can hit him. Speed is a function of reach. Okay, if you're faster than your opponent, even if he has more reach than you, you're going to be able to close the distance and hit him, right? So even though technically their hand speed is very similar, because he has the reach advantage, the actual reach advantage, he's going to be, faster on the line than than Tank Davis. But Ryan Garcia could not hurt Emmanuel Tego. He did drop him randomly, but he couldn't hurt him. He couldn't knock him out. And Tank Davis is a much better fighter than Emmanuel Tego. He's more explosive. He's faster. He hits harder. He's stronger. He's probably better at wrestling and controlling on the inside, even though that's probably not something... Man, you know what? That might be something Tank Davis wants to do, because Ryan Garcia is not really an inside fighter, right? He's got that very particular range that he wants to try to bash you in. But he's not a wrestler. He's not an inside fighter, right? Ryan Garcia wants it to be a very pretty fight on the outside, real clean, and land some real hard shots. And I think that Tank Davis's best chance at winning is creating a lot of space, circling, moving, making the fight kind of ugly by interacting with his probes, forcing him to throw those probes from far away, and trying to use his superior experience, right? Because again, one of the most interesting things about the Mayweather Club, right? And notice, in the fight with Rolly Romero, if you watch any sparring session with Tank Davis, He does not spar like that. That's not how they spar in the doghouse. Do you know how they spar in the doghouse? They spar in the doghouse like Leo Santa Cruz versus Tank Davis, rounds 4, 5, and 6 or whatever the last 2, 3 rounds are, where the guy who has the more speed, the more power, who's more explosive on the line just walks forward, defends the line as best as he can, try to catch punches, and then tries to find that one slip, boom, uppercut, right? And Tank Davis is trying to be on the line with you and try to be explosive. But I don't know if he can do that to Ryan Garcia. Okay, I don't know if he can do that to Ryan Garcia. I think he's going to have to wind up boxing him like he did Rolly Romero. Yeah, it's just going to make it for probably a great fight. I mean, to be honest, the first couple rounds of Romero versus Davis, Davis didn't, I don't want to say he didn't do a lot, right? But it wasn't low activity exactly, but there was a lot of circling, a lot of this, a lot of that. And that's where Tank Davis can find the most amount of opportunities, I think, in spite of the fact, even though I think he kind of sucks at circling. He does that kind of circle thing where he keeps his weight toward the front foot and he tries to pull back, but he doesn't really get his back heel down. He can't really pull his weight away from his opponent, and he's going to expose his liver. So there's some danger there. There's some this and that. But anyway, man, I'm still torn. I don't know who I think is going to win the fight. And I think Tank is a heavy favorite right now. I think he's like 3-1, which is really interesting because, again, Ryan Garcia has such a huge opportunity here. And the great thing about Ryan Garcia and his position in this fight is that if things go really well for Ryan Garcia, he looks like the greatest thing since sliced bread. He may even be able to beat Tank Davis without even taking a punch, in theory, right? But no matter how we analyze the fight with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, I don't see a single scenario where Tank gets on the line and is able to beat Ryan Garcia up without getting hit, without looking exposed to the hook, without being exposed to the hook to the head or the hook to the body, without being exposed a little bit by those probes. Okay? Even if we know that some of those are very limited, right? And that if Ryan Garcia, I don't want to say if he's not ready, and you can push him off of his line by controlling him, right? But there's no scenario in this fight where Tank Davis probably looks like he just dominates Ryan Garcia, right? But there are going to be some sequences, even some rounds, that probably look like Ryan Garcia dominated Tank Davis. Even if Tank winds up beating the crap out of him late in the fight, catching him with a hard shot and dropping him, I think it's going to be very clear that he was in a fight. We're going to remember some of those great punches and all that stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, to be honest, I don't really know who I think is going to win this fight yet. I'm definitely going to be doing more film study on Patreon. So if you guys want to check it out on Patreon, we're going to be watching these fights and, talking about them. And, I already did an hour here. But also, if you guys want to learn how to do all the stuff that Tank Davis does, if you want to learn how to do these pull counters, you want to learn the Fouts Boxing combat system, if you want someone to watch you work out and tell you what to do better, you want to send in your videos, you want to send in your sparring, your heavy bag, your shadow boxing, your double in bag work. If you want to send that stuff in and you want someone to critique and to teach you, to show you where you're failing mechanically, to show you how to do this better and that better, how to create the better structures, how to get your weight into this place, into that place. If you want someone to teach you to become the fighter you want to be, okay? What I've demonstrated, the knowledge that I've demonstrated in this video is nothing compared to what I know, compared to what I can teach you, compared to how much farther ahead of the curve. Because I've been teaching this stuff, 2-foot punching like this, for almost 2 years now. Okay? I've been teaching people in my Discord the Ryan Garcia left hook for 2 years. People have been developing power, huge power. Guys in my Discord getting accused of taking steroids because they're starting to punch so hard. People don't believe them, that it's all technique, that it can all be learned. Okay? Anything that you want to learn about boxing, I can teach you. Okay? But not just that, not just teach you what, but I will teach you to bridge the gap between where you are and your ability to fight and that place that you want to be. Okay? So check it out. And if you want a link to the Discord, you have to buy a 1-year membership. There are hundreds of training videos on Discord. Not hundreds, but there's probably like over 100 videos. Training videos, film studies, fighters that are using the Fouts boxing combat system to train, to fight, to spar. There's dozens and dozens of sparring videos on there of people fighting with my system, people getting, huge knockouts, landing huge punches, practicing, any kind of. Discord is where it's at, okay? There's also a complete Fouts boxing combat system available on Discord to teach you all of the 2-foot punching theory, all of the 2-foot punching techniques, what I call the track drill that teaches you how to get on the line, which is phase 1, how to land your best strike, which is phase 2, and then how to exit the line safely, which is phase 3, okay? And there's a full complete combat system on Patreon, or on Discord, not on Patreon, on Discord. And if you sign up for a 1-year membership on Patreon, it's like $500. It comes with a 15% discount. So you get a big discount. There's the $300 program for my Vimeo of my Fouts Boxing Combat System that's already on Discord. So basically, you get the Fouts Boxing Combat System for $300, and then for an extra $200, you get 1 year of coaching. 1 year of me telling you how to do this better, how to do that better, how to spar better, right? And I will watch your videos, and I do weekly videos teaching people in what I call the Fouts Boxing Academy how to hit the heavy bag better, how to double in bag better, how to do this better, how to shadow box better, how to slowly progress into the fighter that you want to be. And again, there's like 20 members already. And they all send in videos. And you can learn with them, right? I don't want to say if you're shy, because if you join and you don't send in any videos, I'm going to kick you out, okay? You have to be an active community in the Discord. You don't just get to sit there and soak up the knowledge and not send in your stuff, because then I'll probably think that you're Coach Anthony's grunt, trying to steal all my knowledge or whatever. And again, the stuff that's on Patreon and the stuff that's on YouTube is nothing compared to what you'll learn in Discord, okay? So check it out. Get a 1-year membership. If you sign up for the 1-month membership, you will need to buy a Fouts Boxing combat system of your own, and I can teach you independently of the Discord. But if you buy a 1-year membership to the Discord or to the Patreon, I'll get you the Discord link, and you can share and grow and learn to train with all of my other fighters, okay? But yeah, or if you guys just want to learn it by yourself, the Fouts Boxing Combat System is more than enough to teach you and to fill in a lot of the holes, especially with supplements of YouTube. And if you want to check out Patreon, Patreon is all about 2-foot punching theory too as well, and all that fun stuff. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the fight. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.